Hello, I'm Yondon Latu at the South China Morning Post. I know the world is not done yet with crucifying China for the coronavirus crisis, and much of the bad press is justified given how this contagion was inaugurated by a country with total control over information and a track record of cover-ups. But let's take a breather from all the xenophobic hysteria and victim blaming for a calm and calculating look at what China has done so far in containing the epidemic. We need to understand how the dynamics have changed and why the time has come for other countries to snap out of the schadenfreude and realize they cannot afford to throw stones anymore while living in glass houses. After locking down entire cities and placing tens of millions of citizens under quarantine, China's authoritarian government has managed to put a lid on the proliferation of COVID-19 to a significant extent. The country has whittled down daily infection numbers to low double digits now and keeps reporting the lowest figures since the outbreak began more than 2 months ago. For several days in a row, all new domestic cases have been restricted to only ground zero in Wuhan. Hospitals packed to the rafters with COVID-19 patients just a few weeks ago have empty beds to show now. And China has started sending its medical experts overseas to help other countries tackle their outbreaks. All this is because the nation is on a war footing, with the World Health Organization acknowledging it as perhaps the most ambitious, agile, and aggressive disease containment effort in history. And now, with the global infection tally well above the 100,000 mark, China is closing its borders to arrivals from other countries that pose a threat. Don't miss the irony and implications of what's happening here. China may have given this disease to the rest of the world, but now it's making sure the rest of the world doesn't give it right back. And why not, considering how complacent so many countries have been, to their detriment? Look what's happened to Italy. But the elephant in the room is the United States, which will need watching because the picture is likely to be far worse than the one President Donald Trump is painting. Woefully unprepared was how America's largest nursing union summed it up in a recent warning to the government about a fragmented and broken public health infrastructure that would not be able to cope with a crisis of this magnitude. The US has only now reported more than 1,000 infections because testing for COVID-19 has been conducted at a fraction of the scale it should be. Just a few thousand have been tested so far. Compare that with nearly 200,000 in South Korea, which has set up fast food-style drive-through testing stations, a novel concept Americans would surely embrace if their government could get its act together. It doesn't help that Trump has been making recklessly irresponsible claims about the disease and lulling Americans into a false sense of security by routinely disputing scientific data and offering clueless personal opinions that directly contradict public health advice. He has suggested, based on personal hunches, that the disease will miraculously go away with the onset of summer, that it's mostly very mild, that many people recover without having to see a doctor, that hundreds of thousands will get better just by, sitting around and even going to work. Trump has been criticized for treating the epidemic as more of an obstacle to his re-election campaign than a wider threat to humanity, but that may well provide the jumper cables required to get him moving. He cares deeply about the stock market, to which he has tied his political fortunes, so it's in his own interest to fight whatever is hurting it. And of course he cares about his own health, being a germaphobe. So self-preservation means doing what it takes to wipe out the scourge that is threatening to take away everything he holds dear. Otherwise, it may soon be time for countries to start shutting out Americans trying to come in. Here in Hong Kong, remember how militant we've been about closing our borders to mainland Chinese citizens? And how some restaurants even refuse to serve them because they may be infected? Well, if the outbreak in the US explodes to the extent that America becomes a clear and present danger to the rest of the world, are we going to be as xenophobic towards American arrivals? No. As long as they're not Chinese, it's okay. Oh, all right then. Thanks for watching.